Hi everyone, today we're doing a video on seated meditation posture. So many people know that seated meditation is an important practice to be engaged in, but they find it uncomfortable, they find it difficult to maintain. So really what we want to do is give some tools to be able to achieve this more easily. We've got some props, which in a way are non-props. These are things that are very accessible, very easy to find. So I have a cushion, which is actually my backpack stuffed with my pajamas. So maybe ideally you'd be using cushions, but really you can use anything soft that you can use to prop yourself. I've got a meditation stool. These are less findable depending on where you are. This actually comes from the kitchen of the guest house I'm in, because I'm in Southeast Asia. If you don't have this kind of thing accessible, there's going to be some simple instructions for how to build one of these out of 3 bits of wood in the description below. And we've also got a chair. This is just a plastic garden chair. Any kind of chair or bench can potentially do. The reason we're using these props is really you need to be stable for your meditation practice. It may not be comfortable at first, but we can always find a way to be stable. And with stability, what you want is not too much pain and discomfort in the lower back especially. It's important for the spine to be upright. So the more upright the spine is, the less the weight of the head is going to pull you forward and backward and side to side, and the easier it is to relax the arms and shoulders. It's important to have as much of the body relaxed as possible. And also, if you don't have enough support and you're not able to stay upright through the spine, then over time you'll find that the body will start to do this, and really that's going to result in a lot of pain and discomfort and maybe some postural issues. So you really want to support your meditation practice to where these things aren't so much to worry about. So the first thing I'm going to show is a cross-legged position. I'm going to use a cushion. The reason I'm going to use a cushion is because, like most people from England, I was not raised sitting cross-legged on the floor for long periods. So when I do this, my knees come right up above my hips. And you'll find that whenever the knees are above the hips in this kind of position, very soon you'll have postural discomfort in the spine. So I'm going to take the bag, I'm going to wedge it under myself, and my pajamas fortunately put me at the ideal height. You can either stay in this kind of conventional cross-legged position. I find it more comfortable to tuck one foot under and then the other foot over the top. For me, this is my ideal cross-legged position. There may even be some people watching this who you can get into a half lotus or a lotus position fairly easily, and you find this a good position to come to. One thing I would say is that if a lotus or a half lotus position is something that's uncomfortable, that's physical work for you, don't try and kind of do 2 things at once. Stay with something that's comfortable, and that posture might be something that opens up for you in time. In terms of your hands, it doesn't really matter. You see a lot of yoga magazines and stuff where people are meditating in these really rigid-looking positions. You don't really want that. What you want is just to have a place for the hands where the shoulders can be relaxed. So for me, I sometimes have my hands like this. More often I actually sit kneeling, which we'll talk about in a moment, and then I tend to have my hands in my lap, and having the wrists on the thighs here can work in a cross-legged position as well. So for kneeling positions, I tend to kneel in the Japanese style, as I was at the start of the video. I find this very comfortable. My heels are basically under my butt bones. You can also have them out to the side. That's more comfortable for some people. Some people can even sit down between the feet. If you need a cushion in this position, you can either put it between the butt and the legs, or you can put it between the legs so that the butt comes right down on top of it. For many people, this is actually a very comfortable position. And for this position as well, we have the meditation stool or meditation bench. Works similar to putting a cushion there, except this really takes all of the weight of the upper body, puts it into the bench and down into the floor, so that the legs are very freed up. So there's no constriction in the legs. There's a lot less going numb. There's a lot less discomfort. And the last option we're going to look at is a chair. So as I say, this is an ordinary plastic garden chair, and you sit just on the edge of the chair, not right up against the back. You still want to be holding your own body upright. I'm going to have the knees wider than the hips, feet wider than the knees. And ideally, this chair isn't quite the right height for me. Ideally, my knee would be below the hip, and that allows me to have a lot of grounding from my body down through the feet into the ground. And again, I'm just going to look for a position with my hands that I personally find comfortable. So this is something you may have to experiment with. The last couple of things to be aware of is, as I say, comfortable might not be an immediate option. So getting comfortable in a meditation position is something that can take years of work. I personally still have my legs go to sleep every single time I sit, even though I sit every day, and I don't mind. It's not a big deal. Your legs won't fall off. You'll be fine, unless you have previous issues with blood clots and so forth, in which case that's what I'd recommend the chair for. Don't worry too much about physical discomfort. Worry more about your mental state. So if the physical discomfort is coming to a point where you literally cannot stay still, address the discomfort mindfully and come back to your stable position. But if you're able to move beyond the physical sensation and stay with this slight discomfort while you're in your meditation position, then really this is where some very interesting things start to happen. And remember, all of this is just tools to help you get stable. So if there's another tool that you like to use, another position, maybe you even like standing meditation, then feel free to experiment. And just find something that really helps you to be physically and mentally stable for your own meditation practice.